Surround yourself with mentors. Sometimes we never realize there's an unsung hero in every celeb you see. Natalie was born 29th of September, the year 2007, with a heart problem. 4 years later, she was admitted at Kijabe Mission Hospital. There were some cardiologists, a couple, married couple from the UK, that were operating on this girl's heart. She was 4 years of age, and they realized that this girl is missing a lot on school. So they went the extra mile. They didn't just do like what doctors do. They didn't just do what was expected of them. They decided to take upon themselves to teach her what she was supposed to learn at that age. So they began to teach her how to read and write. And they even told her, you're not going to ask us for anything by speaking. You've got to put it in writing. So if you feel hungry, write it down. If you want medicine, write it down. That's how we are going to communicate. And that's what brought out the writing talent out of this girl. Because someone saw the talent and decided to nurture it. But then the mother took it a level higher. She picked her books and went hawking street by street. One day, she met a shoeshine guy, Kobil Lavington. This guy said, look, Mama, I don't have money to buy your books, but I can give you something higher than that. I shine the shoes of JFK, Jeff Koinange, and I'm going to give him your contacts on these books. And that's how they founded themselves in JKL Live. And the rest, as they say, is history. What touched me a lot when I was talking to the mother is to realize there were some mentors. We are only celebrating a 10-year-old girl, and sometimes we never remember the unsung heroes. The UK couple who did not desire me to disclose their names, and the mother, Waidera Kirago, have deliberately mentored this girl, and every single day she journals her feelings, she journals her experiences. Now I want to challenge you. One of the reasons we struggle so much this part of the world is because we lack someone to hold our hand and to show us the way. The average person in this hall who is above 35 years of age, by that time, they did not even know what they were meant to do. They were still second guessing. Because mentorship, it is still relatively new, this part of the world. And a mentor is like a rail guard. They are not roadblocks. They don't block you from flowing along the traffic. But they ensure whenever the corners are too sharp, you don't tip over. They act as rail guards to ensure whenever the corners are too sharp, you meet them there. When you're able to move on your own, the road is clear. When it's a bit hard to negotiate, then they are there for you. So I want to suggest some 10 reasons why you need a mentor. Number 1, a mentor will show you the way. They don't point you to places they have never been. They first take the walk, they take the journey, and then they make the invitation. They tell you this is how things are being done. Why a mentor? A mentor will share valuable experience. Experience cannot be purchased. It can only be earned or shared. A mentor will save you from yourself. They will rescue you from self-destruction. Just like seeing a dentist in good time may save you from tooth decay, seeing a mentor in good time may save you from driving in the wrong direction for too long. Why a mentor? Number 4. A mentor can help network you. They can give you necessary connections. You might take too long to get the right connections, and sometimes you just need a mentor to ask them, what do we do when we reach here? You need to keep throwing those questions to them. Why a mentor or a life coach? Number 5. A mentor will help you connect with your purpose in life. So a mentor will help you connect the dots between your deepest passions and interests and link them with your God-given talents and gifts. The skills you have acquired both in the marketplace and in school. Just the ability to connect the dots with the resources at your disposal. Then you're able to harmonize your purpose in life. To begin walking a life of meaning, a life of significance. Why a mentor or life coach? Number 6. A mentor is a trusted advisor. So you can entrust them with proprietary information and intellectual property. In a city like Nairobi, it is very hard to know who to trust with your information, because sometimes when you have a business idea and you share with someone, even before you finish that cup of tea, they have already implemented, correct? And they go explaining as though it is their original idea. There's a lady by the name Sylvia. Is she here? There's Junior Club. She's there, right there. Sylvia one day came and shared with me an idea of doing a junior club. And when we were in Egypt, the kids had already suggested they want a junior club. I didn't know where to start, and I regret to tell you so. I listened with one ear, and the other ear I trusted God that the information can get out, because I'm not gifted in speaking to kids. I found the solution when this lady came. If you find Sylvia in my absence, she can tell you I've never asked her for a single coin. I'm supposed to ask her, by the way. It's my right. You know when you go for a franchise, you know what I'm saying? Because she's riding on my blood. It's in Swan One Life Club. And the very first meeting, she had over 170 kids. That's not how I started. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes. I didn't start like that. She was started riding on my name. She's supposed to pay me. But I've never even told her what she's hearing now from the floor. I've never even told her that. By the way, you're supposed to be sending tithe to me. Now, you may see. Now, at a light note, on a serious note, when she shared with me the idea, the next moment I thought, how can this idea be implemented? And I made it clear to her. Develop a special purpose vehicle, which in other words is a company, to run that thing, because I would like you to have the leeway to do so. So you can entrust, if a mentor is a true mentor, you can entrust them with proprietary information and intellectual property, because unless you discuss that idea, you are not sure what is lacking in that idea. And there are many other ideas here. Some I may not want to disclose for good reasons. They are still in incubation, and the hyenas could be in our midst. Now, the ones I have shared have already been implemented. So yes, you can entrust them with proprietary information and intellectual property. Why a mentor? Number 7. A mentor is a trusted disciplinarian, a sincere disciplinarian. They will set boundaries for you that you may not be in position to set for yourself. And that's what I'm calling tonight, standards. They will push you to a standard you will not do it willingly. I don't know whether Julia Chege is in our midst. Is she here? Oh, Julia, you here? Please, would you stand? This is sensitive. But one day, Julia gave me her financial goals. We're going through purpose. And you don't have to be scared by her goals. There's no competition. Is that okay? But after discussing with Julia, she wanted to hit 20 million last year. We were discussing at the beginning of the year. And I told her that's a very good goal, very big for many of us. But that's not your goal, Julia. I refuse. I'm not taking it. And believe me, she listened to me, and she exceeded that goal. I think Africans miss good places for clapping. Thank you so much. But it's true. I've met a number of you and I tell you this is not your goal. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Sometimes when I push people, they run away from me for good. And that's what mentorship is all about. But most times I win. Why mentors? Number 8. Are you there? Yes. Mentors keep us on our toes, lest we rest on the laurels. They keep us on our toes, lest we rest on the laurels. They keep checking. How are you doing? And they do it out of love. Number 9, mentors bolster the confidence in us. They help us see the hope on our inside. The work of a mentor is not to show you how big a goal it is. The work of a mentor is not to show you how much she has achieved. The work of a mentor is to show you what you can achieve, what you're capable of doing. If you sit with a mentor who for 1 hour is just discussing about his own achievements, swap him up for a mentor who sees the hope on your inside. Can you imagine going to a doctor and the only thing he's discussing is how healthy he is? That time you're bedridden. You say, you know me, I eat sukuma wiki while you're still taking whiskey. Now, that's not the message you need to listen at this particular point. You need the person who is giving you the hope on your inside. Does that make sense? Number 10 and the last one. Why a mentor? Mentors are priceless. They don't do it for a pay. We charge when you come for training, and some trainings are technical. We never charge for our mentorship program, and that's why I encourage you in your mosques, in your temples, in your churches, in your schools, in your estates. You know, as a gated community, we can launch My Life Journey program. Wherever you stay, you can invite us. Mentorship is not for a pay. Coaches are paid, and that's their right. Because in mentorship, you don't tell people what to do, you lead them in what to do. So the only way you can pay a mentor is by you succeeding and you respecting their time and the structures they have put in place. Now, some of you definitely have been offended by the fact that they have been unable to reach me. The whole of this year, so far I've only managed to meet 2 people one-on-one. One of them is here. And I think it's good I disclose this here. This is the reason we started My Life Journey program. What you may not realize is that we get hundreds of inquiries. So I beseech you, I plead with you to honor the structures we have put in place for mentorship, and that's My Life Journey program. That time, we interact closely because we also schedule that time for that purpose. And when you're meeting a mentor, it doesn't have to be me. We have a couple of mentors in our midst. When you're meeting a mentor, please go ahead of time. Respect their time. If they tell you to meet them at 10 o'clock, be there by 9:30. Let them know you respect their time. If it was supposed to be 1 hour, don't wait for them to send you away. They are too shy for that. Begin to excuse yourself 10 minutes to time so that they know you respect their time. Don't go to parade how much you know. Why are you looking for them if you know that much? Go with a set of questions. Ask difficult questions, not college questions, not academic questions, but real questions that can help you in your life. I always like telling you, never be mentored by a loser. Make sure whoever mentors you embody what they tell you. They should not be speaking one thing. If you go to a health club and you realize that the guy who is going to train you has an excess public opinion, please leave it. He doesn't believe what he's doing. You see, you can only effectively teach what you consistently model. The most effective way of inspiring others is bringing out the best out of your own life. So make sure they model what you're looking for. Granted, sometimes it's difficult to get all these things I've described in one individual. You might be forced to have 2 or 3 mentors. For example, you might have a career mentor, a financial mentor, a relationship mentor. What is critical is to be sure that they embody what they are mentoring you to become. If you're able to get all these things in one person, then you're very fortunate. And that's the primary reason why I push myself in areas that are not naturally my strength, like physical conditioning. That's the reason we're going to Mount Kenya, to encourage you people. This was the first time since One Life Club went there. To encourage the rest of you to go. And you don't know why we are doing this. We are doing this for a simple reason. The moment you enroll for mountaineering, you will deliberately go for exercise. You will not be reminded. Otherwise, you will not come back home alive. By the time we were reaching Shipton Camp, 4,200, breathing was a serious problem. But because I don't want to relax next year, I've now enrolled for Mount Kilimanjaro in February. So I teach on 5 areas: the mental, the relational, the career, the financial, and the health. And I try the best I can by God's grace to model all these 5. And that's what I challenge you. If you're able to get a mentor who epitomizes all these items, go for that person. Warning: never mentor someone who doesn't subscribe to your authority. Jesus said, "My sheep know my voice." Not everyone belongs to your sheepfold. Guide someone to the extent they submit to your authority. Lesson number 3. Set your standards. There could be many standards we can discuss. I'll delimit myself to 4 of them. The first one, career standards. You know what I do? Definitely I sit down to think critically. What could touch and affect most of you? Every time I'm preparing a message. So this list may not be exhaustive, but I'll try to touch 3 areas I think are critical for us. One of them is career. It's in the interest of many of you to climb up along your career life. And many of us still wonder why some people climb up, while majority do not. And sometimes you feel like you're a victim. There was a young girl by the name Ruth. After Form 4, Her mother got her a job in a restaurant. She used to earn 80 shillings and then pay bus fare 60 shillings. How much was she saving? 20 bob. True story. What she used to do in that place is just doing dishes. And then, by God's grace, she was able to graduate to a waitress in another hotel in the same neighborhood. And her salary dramatically increased to 3,000 shillings per month. There was still bus fare. But that made her to be recognized by a corporate organization, and they hired her, and they gave her to do the job she knew, and that's fixing coffee. So she was hired by Equity Bank as a tea girl stroke messenger. But while many people are complaining about their salaries, she found an opportunity. She saw an opportunity, and she began to work. She became deliberate, and for 6 years, she began to read. She began to enhance her personal brand, working at the branch level. 7 years later, as I speak with you right now, Ruth Mueni is a regional manager with Equity Bank, with many branch managers reporting to her. At the age of 23, another Kenyan by the name James got a job. Every other person, James, unlike Ruth had to get her degrees later. James looked, when he got this job, he had a Bachelor of Law degree and had done all the way to CPAK. When he was doing his bachelor's degree, on the side, he was pursuing CPAs. People at his level were all looking for managerial job. In fact, all the guys who went in that company, nobody had as much academic qualifications. But he went there and beat everyone in interview by asking for something phenomenal. I'm looking for a job to be filing. I just want to go to the store and be filing your documents. You're looking at a lawyer, come accountant, and all he wants to do here is to file. And since no graduate wanted that job because of inhibitions, I'm a graduate. There was an opening for someone to file. Little did they know that this young man wanted to study in details what was going on in this company. He studied document after document. One day, there was a vacancy for a finance manager. And he thought the craziest thing was for this guy who was filing things to go for that interview. When James attended that interview, he knew the answers more than the interviewers themselves. Finance manager shortly, and thereafter he became the CEO of Centum Group. He's that, James Moria. And James says this, when he's been asked, what's the secret of your success? 2 things, humility and personal development. I've been deliberate on my personal growth and development. Promotion is not a factor of how many years you have worked somewhere. Never complain, I've been here for that year, so what? The real question is the tangible difference you've made. You grow up your corporate rank because of the value you add, not how long you've worked, not how old you are, not your gender, not your color. Ultimately is the value add. There is someone they can't afford to lose. That's the challenge I said to you. Raise your standard. James Moria was deliberate for 7 years. Today he's argued to be the highest paid CEO. Well, that's debatable. The truth is the guy is doing well. I challenge you, add value to yourself. Raise your standard. Ruth decided to hide for 6 years, adding value to herself right at the branch level. James doesn't know everyone in Equity, but be sure of this. He knows Ruth by her name. The second area you need to work on, I'll call it your brand standard. Your brand standard. This is one of the things that are very close to my heart, because if there's anything I've been very deliberate about is my brand standard. And this is all about managing your name. I'll not say much here. I'll invite you to go and check my videos on personal branding, recreate yourself, reinvent yourself. This is a subject I've spoken over and over again in different angles, and at the close of this year, I'll be hosting an open day at KICC around November, December. This will not be a forum for entrepreneurs. There will be a forum specifically for professionals in Nairobi just to go through this topic of personal branding. But I'll tell you this. You are paid according to individuality. Here's the deal. When you're deliberate about personal branding, you work less for more. Is it not true If we were to invite Churchill to be our MC tonight, or Nyabane, we will be willing to pay them an extra coin rather than your neighbor whom we don't know his name. Is it not true? Nobody is willing to experiment on his platform with a name that nobody knows except the grandmother. Nobody wants to do that. People are willing to pay a higher price on a known brand. The more you're not known, the less you earn. You've got to be deliberate about marketing your name, managing your name. Never be proud that the only people who know you are your neighbors in Busia. Always interrogate, always check the strength of your brand name. But here is the deal. As human beings, we are wired to notice that which is different. We are wired to notice someone dressed in red in a sea of black clothing. If you look like everyone else in your field of operation, your customers are likely to bypass you. Now, I'm not discussing about how you're going to be superior than the others. No. Personal branding is not about superiority. It's not how superior you are from the others. It is how different you are. You see, what people are looking for is who is different, because all the others look alike. There is value in scarcity. That's why you pay more for diamonds and gold than for iron or rocks, ordinary rocks. Whatever is rare, you pay for it more. Now, a giraffe or a zebra, they are far larger than a leopard or a cheetah. But believe me, if you go to KWS, they will tell you a cheetah and a leopard have a higher value than a bigger animal like a zebra. Why? They are rarer to see. And when you go in the jungle, if you're like me, I like hunting these animals. One of the greatest thrills in my life is looking for the cats. I never, ever go to the wildlife. I know there are people, some of you who really like seeing the wild beast migration. Forgive me, I'm a Kenyan, but I'm never excited with the wildebeests. It's okay, I like seeing them. But when I'm in Masai Mara, all I'm looking for is a leopard or a cheetah. Why? Long before I reach the gate of Masai Mara, I've seen hundreds of wildebeests already loitering. As President Kibaki would say, kulegarega. Let me maybe allow you to get into my life for a moment and give you one or two areas I chose to differentiate myself. Most of them you know them, but maybe when I mention, you will realize that's what attracts you to my life. One, I chose to have content and to have it in my fingertips. Two, I chose not to repeat myself when I'm delivering any talk. And the reason you're not going to the washroom is because you don't know what will be said next. Do you realize if you go for 5 minutes, you're going to miss a couple of items? It is not a question of how superior you are from the others, but how different. And that's the question you need to answer. You need to always interrogate, how am I different from the others in my particular field of operation? Thereby, you begin earning more, you stop pursuing success, and success begins to pursue you. That means you're deliberate about what you post on social media. Don't play the same league with the others. You're deliberate at where you go in the public joints. You're deliberate with your public image wherever you go, because brand is not about what you think about yourself, it's what others think about you. It's about your reputation. It's about people's perception about you, and you can't demand people to like you. You can't. It's their prerogative. So raise your brand standards. Thirdly, I want us to look at the standards of our relationships. I think the easiest thing to do is to start with the single ladies in our midst. The single ladies who are listening to my voice tonight, why beg for love? Why beg for what you're entitled? You see, the average single woman always has another woman who she thinks is more beautiful than herself. And I'm here to let you know, if you're listening to my voice, you're a single woman listening to me tonight, men are attracted by confident women. When you're confident, you are attractive. Your own self-rejection turns people away. Your own self-acceptance attracts people to you. So stop imagining there's someone who is better than you in their looks, and begin to be confident in your body, confident in your goals, confident in your career. Be rare. Don't be available for every meeting you're invited. Refuse to be anyone's afterthoughts. You know, there are some men, when they call all the girlfriends and they are not available, then they remember there's a girl called Leah. Refuse to be somebody's afterthought. If you are not the primary call, let them go. You begin to create some value on yourself. Refuse to get into low talks. You know, we live in interesting times where feminists have tried to persuade you that a woman needs a man just as much as a fish needs a bicycle. That's the feminist discussion. And I challenge you, if you start engaging that conversation, note this, some people speak out of their own failures, out of their own bitterness. And you'll always attract what you confess. Confession breeds possession. You always get what you expect. Don't get in that cheap talk. Men are good. Isn't it? Yes. Yeah. So stop joining that talk that I don't want to get married. Eventually it becomes your reality. Instead, go for gym. Don't do it alone. Go for Zumba. Go for aerobics. Go for yoga stretches. It's important when you meet other people because you start spreading positive energy. And you begin to activate endorphins, the feel-good hormones that begin attracting people to you. You know, whenever you are uptight, you reject people. If you always leave job and go for dates, sometimes you exhibit very negative energy because a boss harassed you and you take it to your date. Then this guy wonders, is this what I'm going to live with for the rest of my life? During daytime, you might want the initial dates, you bring your best foot forward. For the single men in our midst, if you're here, you're a single man, you're not married, I suggest tonight raise your standards. If you attract a woman through your valuables, you have to sustain her through your valuables. If your valuables get shaken, your value gets shaken. If you flash car keys, among other valuables and expensive gadgets, you have to sustain that relationship through finances. When your job gets affected, then your self-worth diminishes. I suggest sell a higher value. Sell yourself. Sell a higher ideal. And whenever you go out to date, please remember this. The woman is already suspicious. You're looking her for sex. They're already suspicious. Every woman was created by God suspecting every man, including bishops. They're already suspicious. So if you're a young man, don't play that league. Don't play that low. Because they're already expecting you to go that direction. Refuse to play that standard. Decide you don't want just a body, you want the entire package. You don't want half-baked things. You want the whole package. You want to convergence of your hopes and dreams and aspirations and purpose. You want to discuss further things, not just get involved emotionally. Because once you get hooked emotionally, you'll quit emotionally. You want to go deeper than that and raise a standard. Because the next thing, if this date does not materialize, she will look for like a Kamukoji of girls and tell them how you're looking for her and how she frustrated you. Why do you want to be embarrassed? By playing the same league that every animal plays. Did you know you don't need any tutorials to sleep with a woman? God has sealed it in nature. Every male animal knows how to sleep with his female counterpart. So what are you selling? What monkeys and dogs and cats know? Sell something higher. Do you know when you start discussing big dreams, you become attractive even sexually? You will never even know when she's giving you, you're even refusing. I'm telling you. But you go selling sex. She runs away from you and thinks, boy, when you get brains, look for me now. For the married men in our midst, statistics after statistics are showing that almost 50% of all marriages are on the verge of collapse or they have already collapsed. And anyone listening to me here, whether you're married or single, the profile of many people who failed in marriage is overwhelming. Is that true? And I ask you tonight, why endure, why survive marriage when you can enjoy the most fascinating relationship ever invented? Why quarrel over a strange woman? Why cheat on your hubby when on a field trip abroad or elsewhere? Honor your marriage in word and deed, in thought, word and deed. Live your life in such a manner your marriage doesn't need to be ridiculed. Purpose after this meeting, never again shall we discuss that other man, that other woman. Men and women of high standards are promise keepers. Sleeping with your house girl, your secretary, the boy who delivers grocery at home, your gardener, visiting the red districts is too low a standard. Sleeping with your colleague, your neighbor, and a family friend is foolish and intolerable. Pacify your animalistic instincts by focusing on human values. Tame your wild passions by focusing on high standards. Admittedly, many of us have done gross mistakes in our past, but we can't change our past. But we can change our present and our future. You must not be guilty about what I've said. It should make you bitter enough about today and tomorrow, not about yesterday. The fourth area I wanted to look at is very complex. It's called life standards. I don't know what's life standards because there are too many. So I would like to restrict myself, to delimit myself to two cadre of people, employers and public servants. For the employers in our midst, please remember, it is God who has given you that rare privilege. Treat your employees the way you'd want them to treat your finest customers. Every time you mistreat an employee, they pass it on to your customers, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You know, if I meet your secretary and she is insultive and abusive, it doesn't tell me necessarily her character, but the character of her boss. You know, a lot of people believe customer is the most important to the business. That's not true. Employees are the most important people in business. Every great entrepreneur knows this simple secret. You don't build a business. You build people, and then people build the business. One major difference between the rich and the poor. The poor work very hard with their hands. The rich work hard with your hands. The real secret of succeeding in your business is your ability to gather your team, to build your team. The moment you realize that in that place there is very high staff turnover, re-examine yourself because you are heading nowhere. For the public officials in this place and those who will ever listen to me through this video recording, I believe with all my heart, if we focused on raising the standard of our procurement in this country, we will always procure the best we have and thereby raise our national standards. We will never raise our national standards so long as we compromise our procurement system. And I would like to request you to do something rare that we never do. I'd like to honor one Kenyan. He's not in our midst, but you never know whether he may be listening to this video one day. And that's Dr. Patrick Goge, the Central Bank of Kenya governor as at 2018, for refusing to be compromised, for being an island of righteousness in a sea of corruption, for refusing to have a price tag at the expense of millions of taxpayers. Please, one day, Governor Njoroge will listen to us. Would you join me and we just give him a hand? Thank you. We honor you. We salute you. And many of us perhaps give up and think everyone else is doing it. No, you just need to check what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, your personal standards begin with your thought system and your working vocabulary. Now, last year, August, someone gave me a ride from Coventry to London. A senior military official in the Royal Army. Now, a few miles after we joined M1 motorway, he threw in the negative F word. And I challenged him instantly to either drop the word or drop me. You see, I say this with a lot of humility. I don't want to beg for what I can afford. I didn't ask him for a ride. One of the reasons I was so strict on him, he was in my meeting, and that's when he learned I was heading for London. So he knew my standard, and I knew if I don't challenge him, I'll be lowering my standard. Two, it might deteriorate. I don't know what else he'll be speaking by the time I reach London. And I'll be telling him it's all right to speak like that in my presence. Graciously, he apologized profusely. And when he did so, I decided to extend an olive branch by suggesting to him a number of positive F words in my working vocabulary. And I told him I can share with you some F words that I have, like fun, and fresh, and faith, and fabulous, and fantastic, and fascinating, and family, and fathery, and favor. And I convinced him there are many positive F words. I repeat, we can't exhaust the number of life standards. But let me say this. If you're a motorist and you're listening to me, don't harass the matatu guy. Don't go at their level. If we all raise our standards, they will. If you're a doctor and you're listening to me, you are serving God in that hospital. Life is in your hands. Live by a higher standard. Stop rushing after 20 patients for the sake of money. If you're a teacher, a school teacher, a lecturer who will ever listen to us, give your all. Pour your life in the lives of these students. If you've been entrusted with security for this country, especially if you're in our border points, every time you compromise your standards, you risk the security of the whole nation and your own security and the security of your children's children. Just because you compromise your standard, a nation burns. If you're a sweeper, you've been given one street in Nairobi. Don't worry about who is cleaning up Isili and Dadura. Clean up the street you've been given. Let them study here. Rather than the governor taking people to Kigali, they can bring them to your street and study how it can be clean. Whatever your hand fights to do, do it with all your might. Finish that college degree that you started. Finish that job assignment. Visit the distressed. Visit the prisoners. Visit the sick. Raise your standards of giving. Don't throw away cents and coins that cannot make a difference in someone else's life. Make the days of your life count. Raise your personal standard. You remember lesson number 4? What is it? Develop a winning routine. Now, have you been blessed by this video? Please like and share with family, friends, and colleagues. Great people are either sources of light or they are mirrors that reflect the light. Be a channel of blessings to others and hit the subscribe button to enjoy thousands of my videos free of charge.